What's going on, car family? I'm Ben Wayne. Thank you for joining me in another video. Today's video is going to be a little bit different from what we technically do. Most of the time we do car reviews, but today I wanted to talk to you about why the BMW 8 Series, technically the second generation 8 Series if you want to call it that, is failing. So if you've been with this channel for a while, we did a technical review on the BMW 8 Series convertible and the Grand Coupe as well. And then we also did a video doing a direct comparison to the S-Class Cabriolet or S-Class in general and compared it directly to the 8 Series. And quite frankly, a lot of people got mad at me for that, but I went down the exterior, the interior, talked about the specs, pricing. It's a really detailed video, and there's some really great points in there, especially some great points in the comment section. If you haven't seen that video, check that one out. But today, I had a couple points that I wanted to bring up regarding the BMW 8 Series and why it's technically failing. So a lot of people came to me in the comment section of the video I did a year ago, and I'm that dude where, you might say something and think you have me on a point, and I'll just wait quietly. I'm patient, and I'll respond maybe like a year later. Um, when the Corvette came out, the C8 Corvette came out, I remember I was following one of these guys from Motor Trend on Instagram, and it showed a cutaway section of the proposed C8 convertible, and I was like, well, looks like they took a page from Ferrari's book, how they're biting the design of the 458 Italia hardtop. And somebody was like, whoa, what are you on about? This is going to be a soft top. So I didn't respond. I waited like 10 weeks um, for Corvette to officially release images of the new C8 convertible, and it showed a hardtop. And then I went back and replied. So I'm that dude. So that is this. So the first reason I have here, I have an iPad with some notes here that I wanted to cover, is you got to think about the original 8 Series, the original E31. That is arguably one of the most beautiful cars BMW has ever put out. I say the BMW 8 Series, the original one, and the BMW Z8, two of the most beautiful cars they have ever put out. And BMW spent almost 10 years developing that first generation 8 Series. That's why when it came out, it looked like nothing that we have ever seen before. It was completely out of this world. It was one of the first cars fully developed using computer software. One of the first BMWs to have a fully independent multi-link rear suspension, and also one of the first cars with electronic drive-by-wire. So there are a lot of firsts in that first generation, a lot of innovation that you see there. And when that 8 Series came out, you have to think that it looked like nothing else that we had ever seen in the BMW lineup. So there was, everything else, and then there was the 8 Series, which stood out like a sore thumb, which was awesome. So even though that car didn't really sell well, it was something that is recognized to this day as one of the most beautiful cars BMW ever made, and it has its own cult following. Like, if you know BMW, you know about that first gen 8 Series. It's no question, right? So comparing that first generation 8 Series with all the facts I mentioned just now to this second generation, in the lineup, you have a lot of other cars that have some of the similar design characteristics that are in the current 8 Series that don't make it stand out as much. And I seriously doubt BMW spent 10 years developing this current generation 8 Series. So with that being said, I'm going to move on to my second reason as to why this car is failing. This applies to the 8 Series, but also applies to other cars currently being made. Typically, two-door cars in the high-end GT market are extremely hard to sell. I have a friend who works at a luxury car dealership, and she told me that for every 25 sedans they sell, maybe one coupe is sold, right? So for every one BMW 8 Series, they're probably selling tons and tons of sedans, right? So it's not really selling as much as maybe other more practical cars, especially in today's world where SUVs are completely dominating the market. In a Bentley video I did maybe a month or two ago, in the Mulsanne Final Edition video, I told you that the Bentayga is accounting for about 50% of Bentley sales, right? So SUVs are the thing now. So once you find a customer who's finally willing to purchase a coupe, chances are that person already has two SUVs or two sedans, but it's very rare that that person already has another coupe at home and they're out shopping to get another coupe. So that's definitely going to hurt the sales, right? So SUVs are a thing now, and you're not going to find as many people now who are willing to put that much money into one car. That's not as practical as some of the other offerings, right? So that's really going to hurt some of the sales when it comes to high-end luxury coupes like that. Um, S-Class included, S-Class coupes included, but that's something that really hurts the 8 Series. So the first point I brought up was talking about how the first generation 8 Series looked like nothing else in the BMW lineup. And you can't really say that about today's 8 Series. BMW has a lot of offerings now, more offerings today than ever before. I mean, there's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, those different series of cars, and then you have the corresponding SUVs. So that's a lot on the market. So the current BMW lineup has a lot of offerings around the same price point, and a lot of the SUVs also have the same power plants. And SUVs are getting crazy performance nowadays. So you don't necessarily need a sports coupe to go fast. As crazy as that sounds, some of these SUVs out here today book it when it comes to performance figures. So let's talk about the 7 Series. That starts at about 87K for the 740i. You have 103K starting price for the 750i. And then you have the X7, their beautiful luxury SUV. I've not stopped thinking about that car since I reviewed it. So the X7 X-Drive 40i starts at about 75K, and the X7 M50i starts at 100K, right? Now remember those prices. Now coming over to the 8 Series, you have the 840i, which is at about 88K, the M850i, which is at about 112K starting, and M8 at $133,000. Now, while it might be slightly more expensive than some of the figures I just mentioned for the 7 and the X7, it's really not that big of a difference in pricing, right? So you're getting offerings that have more practicality, more space, looks just as nice, arguably might look better. That new 7 Series, the refresh one, looks really nice. It looks really sharp. To me, it looks better than the 8 Series. That's just my personal opinion. But you have so many other offerings from the same brand that are competing with the sales of that 8 Series. And then your interior layouts and engine choices might even be the same. So that's something else that is drastically impacting the sales of that 8 Series. Let's talk a little bit about the design, because that's another reason for me. Uh, the 8 Series, the current generation 8 Series, the design, is it a good looking car? Yes. Is the car absolutely stunning? In my opinion, no. Um, I'm going to say this, and people might get mad at me for this, but it kind of is what it is. Yes, the 8 Series is a good looking car, but it's also like a six-figure car once you spec it out right. There is no reason why a six-figure car should have any of the same lines as a Ford Mustang. If you look at the 8 Series and look at the current generation Mustang, you have to admit that a lot of those lines look the same. I mean, if you disagree on that one, it's just blatant denial. Because once you see it, especially on the coupe, it cannot be unseen. I mean, just look at a Mustang and an 8 Series right next to each other and look at the lines, especially the rear three quarter, the lines look the same. Now, arguably, in my opinion, the Grand Coupe version of the 8 Series is the better looking of the three, because you have the convertible, you have the coupe, and then the four-door Grand Coupe. I don't know why we're referring to four-door cars now as coupes. That's marketing. That's something that's here to stay. Don't shoot the messenger. Right? So I think the design plays a major impact on why that car isn't selling. Another major reason why the 8 Series is struggling in sales is simply that there are just too many flavors of this car. That cannot be denied. For example, you have the Grand Coupe, you have the traditional coupe, and then you have the convertible. And each of these configurations are the 840i, the 850i, or the M8. So that's 9 different configurations just right here in the United States of this one car, right? So that's a lot of choices I honestly don't think that you needed three different variations of the 8 series. So take it or leave it for what it's worth. Now, this is a major reason for me as to why it's failing. And I mentioned this in my video I did about a year or so ago. Replacing the 6 series with the 8 series. You know, a bigger number should mean a bigger car, not just a bigger price point. In my review of the 8 series and in my comparison video of the 8 series and the S-Class, I mentioned that the 8 series is actually smaller than the outgoing 6 series. It's 1.6 inches shorter than the 6 series. Now, it may be wider, but it's actually shorter. To me, if there's a bigger number, I'm expecting a bigger car, right? Not just a price hike. So the price went up, but the size of the car did not. And it really just makes it seem like you're just getting a next generation 6 series, but we're just calling it an 8 series because people love the first generation 8 series so much, and we're going to capitalize off the naming convention of that because there was so much love for the first generation 8 series. Maybe people will buy another BMW if we just call it 8 series, right? So right, wrong, or indifferent, that's what BMW decided to do. A lot of people did not fall for that. That's just what it is. Now, one of the most major points as to why the 8 series is failing is simply the marketing. Simply put, without debate. First of all, the 8 series made its debut just months ahead of the X7. We all know what the X7 is. And in the beginning of this video, I said SUVs are the thing now, especially here in America. You cannot go anywhere without seeing an SUV. They offer almost the same luxury in some cases, if not better. They offer almost the same performance sometimes, in some cases, maybe even better. And they offer more practicality. So you're going to debut the BMW X7 just shortly after you announce the 8 Series. To me, that's just a terrible move. Next is the competition. The way they marketed this car for competition is just totally wrong. Now, remember how I said I compared that BMW 8 Series to the S-Class like a year ago? So many people got mad at me for that video. They left me nasty comments, DMs, emails saying, "Oh, I can tell you don't know what you're talking about." Well, the thing is, I do know what I'm talking about, okay? Just because BMW says, "Hey, we're making a car and hey, we're making a car and the 911 is going to be our competition," doesn't mean that's necessarily the case. You're talking about two cars that have up to 1,000-pound weight difference depending on how they're configured. How is that even the same thing? Really, I have seen people on YouTube, and I mean like major notable names here, like Motor Trend, Edmunds, take a Porsche 911 and a BMW 8 Series to the track and then act all shocked when the 911 just destroys the 8 Series on the track. Like, in what world do you guys live in when you're comparing a 911 to a Grand Touring Coupe that weighs 1,000 pounds more than the 911? I mean, at that point, like, are you doing your research at all? 1,000-pound weight difference. The 911 is absolutely going to destroy the 8 Series on the track, right? The 8 Series is a car that handles well, but it is a true grand touring vehicle. It is a car that's designed to go fast for long distances and keep its occupants comfortable. If you drive a 911, it's nowhere near as comfortable as an 8 Series because it's not designed for that. It's designed to be a track weapon, right? So just because we're saying, well, BMW said that this is going after the 911, in what world, right? Just because somebody says, let's say, to me, that sounds like Toyota saying, well, the Corolla is a really nice alternative to the Rolls-Royce Phantom, right? That's insane. Just because the car has four wheels and four doors does not make it the same thing or equivalent to a Phantom. You can't compare the two, right? So the 911 weight is anywhere between 3,200 and 3,700 pounds. And 8 Series goes all the way up to 4,400 pounds. So why are people comparing the two on the track? Much less in any other arena, honestly. So I made a direct comparison for the 8 Series to the S-Class, and when it came to the interior, at the price point the 8 Series is at, it just could not compete with the S-Class. I'd even go as far as to say the Lexus LC500, people sleep on that car's interior. Lexus did an excellent job in execution on that interior of that vehicle. I think it's more geared towards competing against the 8 Series as well. So that's just something to keep in mind. Also, again on the marketing, the Mercedes CLS, the Porsche Panamera, the Audi A7, all nice cars, especially that A7, they all have better lease specials than the 8 Series, right? So that's another reason why people are going to flock to those cars as opposed to the current generation 8 Series. So the 8 Series is just getting completely destroyed from a marketing standpoint, in addition to all the other points I pointed out in this video, resulting in thousands of 8 Series just sitting on dealers' lots because, quite frankly, they're not selling. And on top of all those reasons I've already stated, you got COVID-19, which is putting a halt on some people's plans when it comes to buying expensive sports cars. Let's just face it. So I'm just listing out the points here. The 8 Series is not doing well. That's a fact. Um, don't shoot the messenger. I said a year ago, this car fell short when it came to certain comparisons of cars in its actual class. It is a nice looking car. The interior is nice, but there are other interiors in this same segment that are just way nicer. So those are just some points I wanted to share with you guys on the 8 Series, why it's failing. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I'm sure you will. Until then, I'm Ben Wayne, the automotive reviewer that YouTube deserves.